How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, whoever may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. Climb aboard the mothership, secure your tinfoil hats and buckle down tight. Hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, March 23rd. Monday, March 24th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. If you are listening live this evening, you may be listening on KPNL Radio, which you can find KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us on YouTube as well as Twitch. On YouTube it is We Are Paradox Media. On Twitch is We Are Paradox Media 101. So there is that. So tonight it's story time with me, TessaTNT, and we are getting back into our book, Nazis and the Occult. The Dark Forces Unleashed by the Third Reich. Yeah. That's why we got grounded from Facebook, and we're not live on Facebook right now. But hopefully we'll get back on there sooner than later. Before we get to that, let's go to our uplifting little book here. It's actually like on a coil, so it stands up by itself and you just flip it every day. And so the one for today, March 23rd, says, make up your mind that you can't, and you are always right. So, the mind is a powerful thing, and it's important to control your thoughts and try to be positive. Don't doubt yourself. You can do it. You got this. before we go ahead and share this book this evening, let's go ahead and play our warning here. Trigger warning. This video may contain graphic violence, descriptions, or depictions of violence, which can be triggering for individuals who have experienced violence or have been exposed to traumatic events, as well as discrimination and hate speech. Content that includes racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and other forms of discrimination can be deeply upsetting and triggering for those who have been subjected to such attitudes and behaviors. Viewer, as well as listener, discretion is advised. Also, this is for educational purposes only. We do not support what this group has done, and we don't praise them or think in any way anything that they did was right. It was actually quite messed up, if you ask me. Alright, so let's see. This one should be popping up. There we go. This is the cover of the book. I actually got this from my grandpa's library when he passed. I believe it's the last book I have here from his collection that he had. There was one on the, oh man, I can't even think of the name of it right now. But I really wanted that book, but I didn't get it. I'm pretty sure his son, my Uncle Mike, might have gotten it, but... Alright. Wotan is nearer to us than the Christian god that was by Ivar Felix Fisher Rodolibu, Monastery of Olivia. Thur spoke fervently and frequently against the organized religion, having denounced the Catholic God as cruel and impotent for failing to intervene when his mother lay dying from cancer. The religions are all alike, no matter what they call themselves. They have no future, certainly none for the Germans, whether it is the Old Testament or the New Testament. It's all the same old Jewish swindle. One is either a German or a Christian, and cannot be both. I feel as if I have all disobeyed. Our peasants have not forgotten their true religion. It still lives. The old beliefs will be brought back to honor again. The peasants will be told what the church has destroyed for him. The most secret knowledge of nature, of the divine, of the shapeless, of the demonic. We shall wash off the Christian veneer and bring out a religion peculiar to our race. Our peasantry still lives, and heathen beliefs and values. Through the peasantry, we shall really be able to destroy Christianity because there is in them a true religion rooted in nature and life. And if Roshni is to be believed, one night in 1933, Lur announced his intention to tear up Christianity and branch. He declared, "We must prevent the churches from doing anything but what they are doing now. That is, losing ground day by day. Do you really believe the masses will ever be Christian again? Nonsense. Never again. That story is finished. No one will listen to it again, but we can hasten matters. The parsons will be made to give their own records. They will betray their God to us." Roshni has recently been discredited as a witness to history, but even if his quotations are questionable. Another influential Nazi praised the regime's dislike of organized religion in no uncertain terms. Alfred Rosenberg had written of the day he hoped to establish a national Reich church. On the day of its foundation, the Christian cross must be removed from all churches, cathedrals, and chapels, and it must be superseded by the only unconquerable symbol, the swastika. Himmler, however, would have preferred to do away with organized religion altogether. At the funeral of Reinhard Heydrich, he declared, "The Christendom, this greatest pestilence which could have fallen and befallen us in history, which has weakened us with every conflict, we must finish with." a Luciferian reformation. Incredibly, Hitler's enthusiasm for the root and branch reformation of Christianity was shared by those who should have known better, the academics and the intelligentsia. Intentions set out the Nazi justification for the justification of the Führer in Reich 25 Thesen der Deutschreligion, 25 Articles of Faith.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Of the German religion. Excuse me. Away with Rome and Jerusalem, he stopped, referring to the Catholic Church and Judaism. Back to our native German faith. Our religion is no more that of international Christ God, who cannot stop Versailles. Christianity, according to Professor Bergman, was an unnatural religion, the creation of a preeminently Oriental mind, which contradicts at almost every point the German sense of custom and morality. The new German religion would worship Wotan, the god of knowledge, and the congregation would accept Adolf Hitler as their messiah. Oh my. Everyone who seeks a pure religion and a pure life of God must keep himself painfully remote from the Bible and Christianity, for there is a Satan in this religion. We are no longer the ancient Germans. That does not prevent us from entering deeply into the German forest religion, and from realizing that the Gothic dome is an imitation in stone of the Germanic holy forest place, and that Gothic in its entirety derives from the German soul. Mankind indeed requires urgently to be free of Christianity and the Savior from beyond. We will no longer believe in Christ. We will be Christ ourselves and act as a Christ. The search for the Grail. Which brings us back to the Grail and Himmler's adoption of it as a priceless Aryan relic. Although it is commonly believed that the Grail is an artifact of Christian origin, the Cup of Light is a symbol of the higher self in the Western esoteric tradition, and may well be yet another pagan idea, shamelessly purloined by the early church. It seems more likely that Himmler envisaged the Grail in the form described by Wolfram von Eschenbach in Principle, which is that of a sacred stone, the lapis exilis of the alchemists. Possibly he didn't care what form it took so long as it was a vessel of occult power, through which he could channel the cosmic forces that would ensure the invincibility of the SS. Rana, devotee of von Eschenbach and Wagner, was convinced that the object of his lifelong obsession was a sacred stone, and he traveled throughout Europe during 1931 in search of proof. He claimed to have found it in a small French town called Saint-Bains in the Languedoc region under the guidance of a fellow enthusiast, Antonin Lebains, and Antonin Godal. Godal was a member of a historical society known as the Friends of Montsegur and the Grail. And he had stocked a small private museum with artifacts and documents from the period which Ron found invaluable. After describing the ancient documents and deciphering the inscriptions on the relics provided by Godal, Ron concluded that Montsevat, the legendary mountain of Grail, was in reality the Cathar stronghold, Montsegur. Having decoded the sacred geometry of the site and its relationship to other sites, He became convinced that the Cathar treasure would not have been removed from such a holy place, but must have been hidden in a secret location known only to the elders, most likely underground, where it would have remained unharmed when the Pope's knights set the fortress aflame. The result of his researchers was published in 1933 under the title Crusade gegen den Graal, Crusade Against the Grail, which concluded that Parsifal, the Grail Knight, had been a Cathar. Inevitably, the book came to the attention of Reichsfuhrer SS Himmler. Himmler's Rasputin. It is said that Ron only agreed to accept a commission in the SS because it guaranteed him a square meal 3 times a day and unlimited funds to pursue his research. Whatever the reason, he certainly lived to regret it, as it put him under intolerable pressure to produce results, and it introduced him to the eccentric and unpredictable Karl Maria Willigut. Willigut, who had designed the Death's Head ring for the SS and was commonly referred to as Himmler's Rasputin, had at one time been certified in seeing, which made him the ideal Nazi expert in the occult. Himmler was suitably impressed with the wild-eyed rune scholar and clairvoyant to the extent that he had bestowed on him the title of head of the Department of Prehistory at the SS Ranks and Settlement Office. Willigut's qualifications for this prestigious post were his knowledge of runes and his ability to access 20,000 years of Teutonic history from the Akashic records. The collective memory of every human being, or, as Jung termed it, the collective unconscious. From this cloud of all-knowing energy, he learned that Christianity was a German origin, and that Jesus was, in fact, the Teutonic god Alpha, who had fled to the Middle East after surviving an attempt to crucify him by devotees of his rival Roland. Like what Ron, a conventional historian, thought of his it is not known, he must have wondered what madhouse he had stumbled into. Whatever misgivings Ron had, he kept them to himself. His correspondence with Willigut concerned his quest for the world, which took him as far afield as Iceland, was restricted to dry academic reports on the symbolic significance of ancient place names. When he returned, Himmler made his displeasure known and gave Ron ultimatum, the 31st of October 1936, to provide a publishable manuscript documenting proof of Aryan superiority and Germany's right to the lands to be specifically Russia, or better still, evidence that there were underground passages at Montsegur containing the Grail and possibly other occult artifacts. As Ron had originally suspected, in Hitler and the Cathar tradition, French author Jean-Michel Ungebert speculates that Ron succeeded in locating the passages and recovering the Grail with the help of an SS Ninarbe archaeological team. The Holy Cup was then created up and transported under guard to Wewelsburg, where it was placed on a marble pedestal in the realm of dead underneath the Great Hall. This seems highly improbable for several reasons, the main one being that mystics believe the Grail to be purely symbolic of the heightened level of awareness known as the Christ consciousness, which can only be attained through a spiritual quest. This accounts for its enduring fascination for spiritual seekers of all traditions. Not only accounts for its enduring fascination and Christian mystics.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Besides artifacts, be they tarot cards, crystal balls, runes, or Even the celebrated Spear of Destiny have no inherent power of their own. The power comes from those who use the object to stimulate their own psychic sensitivities. Ron duly produced his report, Lucifer's Court, whose title and central theme betrayed the extent to which he had fallen under Himmler's spell. A typical passage reads as follows. The ancient god of love is also the lord of spring, as personified in the Greek myth of Apollo, who brought back the light from the sun. He is a light bearer, or a Lucifer. According to the Apocalypse of John, Apollo was identified with the devil. There is much more light in the world than in the houses of God, cathedrals and churches, where Lucifer is neither able nor desirous of entering because of the somber stained glass windows on which the Jewish prophets and apostles, the Roman, i.e. Catholic gods and saints are depicted. In essence, Ron is attempting to legitimize the Nazis' rejection of Orthodox Christianity by claiming that the early church demonized the true God, Lucifer, who is not to be confused with the devil, or Satan. Satan was Jehovah, the false god of the Jews, which proves that Jesus could not possibly have been a Jew and that all Jews are in reality Satanists. Even the lunatic Willigat could not have invented a more twisted theory, but Ron appears to have been sincere in his beliefs. The newspaper report of the lecture he gave on the subject at the Dietrich Eckart House in Dortmund in January 1938 revealed his continuing loyalty to the Catholics. Speaking of the fall of Sigurd, he said, 205 leading followers of Lucifer were burnt on a huge pyre by Dominicans in the south of France after a large-scale priestly crusade in the name of Christian clemency. With fire and sword, the Lucifer doctrine of the light bearer was persecuted along with its followers. The Catholics are dead, but their spirit lives on. Ron was as much a victim of Nazism, one might argue, as any of the innumerable innocents who were murdered by them. But Ron lost not only his life, he lost his soul. The Occult Hero. It is fitting that the man appointed by Himmler to head the Nazi Occult Bureau should bear such a striking resemblance to the traditional image of Mephistopheles. For if any branch of the Nazi administration had been conceived in hell, it was this one. Its official name was the Hohennerb, or Department of Ancestral Heritage, an innocuous title masking some of the most perverse activities ever conceived by the human mind, including sadistic experiments on concentration camp inmates. The Bureau's senior administrator, S.S. Colonel Wolfram Sievers, cultivated a trim black beard and a veneer of urban charm, giving him the appearance of the devil himself, and there is reason to suspect that when he walked calmly to the gallows at Nuremberg prison in 1945, he did so in the belief that his infernal master awaited him. Prior to this assimilation into the SS in 1935, Ahnenerbe had been a pseudoscientific institution, staffed by academics studying the nutritional value of various forms of honey, the occult symbolism of the Ethiopian top hat, and the mystical significance of the suppression of the Celtic harp in Northern Ireland. Such trivial pursuits had been presided over by Sievers' predecessor, Herman Wirth, a man whose sanity was as questionable as that of Willigan. At the entrance to his home, Wirth had pinned a notice which read, "No smoking, a deep breather lives here." He referred to his wife, a medium who remained in a permanent trance-like state, while her husband stood by in expectation, ready to record the profound cosmic truths he claimed that she was able to channel from higher intelligences. Wirth had secured the post of head of the Ahnenerbe after impressing Himmler with his knowledge of prehistory, but he was gullible in the extreme and embraced displaced every crackpot theory at face value. He trusted his intuition to inform him whether a questionable source was genuine or not, rather than demanding documentary evidence. Or scientific proof. Make sure I'm on the right page. His unshakable belief in the mythical German homeland of Thule, for example, was based entirely on evidence offered by the patently fake Roland chronicle, a supposed Nordic document which bore a 19th century watermark. When his authenticity was questioned, he justified his faith in it by saying that it was a copy, and that he trusted that the original would surface when the owner thought the time was right. Himmler was forced to defend Roth's reputation on more than one occasion, if only to save his own. In 1933, he ordered Hermann Rochlin to strong-arm dissenting academics into silence so that Roth's assertions would be unchallenged. Himmler called me to account about a professor who lectured on prehistoric times, both at Danzig and at Königsberg. This man, he said, had been criticizing current ideas about the origin of the Teutons and the age of their civilization. These ideas from allegedly scientific points. At that time, the sensation had been created by an exceedingly simple book, The Manifest Forgery. The book tracing the history of the Teutons to an infinitely long period. It proved once more that the origin of German Teuton race was the true creator of European civilization. The professor had treated this book with proper severity, i.e. criticism, and Himmler wanted me to dispose once and for all this type of scientific mischief-making. He himself would put the fear of God into the professors of Königsberg and Breslau. I was to do the same in Danzig. We heard a lecture by the professor who had edited the peculiar chronicle. Professor Worth, he had written some queer books on the origin of humanity, and had engaged in research into the primitive symbolism of prehistoric ages in science and designs. Hitler was interested in the subject. Worth spoke at meetings in which the fundamentals of a new conception of God and the basis of the coming civilization were discussed. Humanity, we learned, stood on the threshold of a new day. Every principle accepted at the present day was far gone in obsolescence. Nothing could be of any service to us in the new era now dawning, but recollections and resuscitations of the earliest ideas and customs of the dawn of humanity.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa Welcome Bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games, all for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Prehistory is the doctrine of the imminence of the Germans at the dawn of civilization. However, Himmler eventually tired of having to defend Worth's unsubstantiated claims and replaced him with the staunchly loyal Wolfram Sievers. From the day he took office, Sievers implemented a root and branch restructuring of the entire institute, expanding it to 50 separate departments, including the notorious Military Experimental Science Unit, which instigated human refrigeration experience at Dachau concentration camp. It has been fashionable for some individuals with a limited understanding of the regime to regard the Nazis as buffoons, and certainly some of their more bizarre theories regarding lost subterranean cities, Aryan ancestry, and the Hollow Earth are laughable. But it needs to be remembered that their ignorance and inhumanity had horrific consequences for those who were subjected to intolerable suffering in pursuit of the new science. At Dachau prisoner was forced to assist in tests to determine the effects of high altitude for the Luftwaffe. Later described the effects of decompression suffered by prisoners. They would go mad and pull out their hair in an effort to relieve the pressure. They would tear their hair and face with their fingers and nails in an effort to maim themselves in their madness. They would beat the wall with their hands and head and scream in an attempt to relieve the pressure on their eardrums. When the Luftwaffe complained that the test had failed to take account of the effects of sub-zero temperatures at high altitude and on pilots who might have to bail out over the Arctic Ocean, the MES obliged by ordering that malnourished prisoners should be left out all night and buckets of freezing water thrown over them at regular intervals. As Francis King pointed out in Satan and Swastika, the only decent human beings involved in these disgustingly cruel and scientifically valueless experiments were the victims. He cites one particular episode reported to him as an example by a camp inmate in which 2 Russian officers were brought in and forced completely naked into a tank of freezing water. Hour after hour passed, though cold, narcosis usually occurs in 60 minutes. In this case, the 2 were still fully conscious at the end of 2.5 hours. All efforts on our part to persuade the camp doctor to give them a narcotic injection were in vain. Sometime during the 3rd hour, one of the Russians said to the other, "Comrade, ask the officer to shoot us." The other replied that he didn't expect any mercy from that fascist dog. Then they shook hands with farewell, comrade. The experiment lasted at least 5 hours before death finally occurred. The senior physician in charge of the cow tests was Dr. Sigmund Rascher. He escaped Allied justice but was shot by SS guards on Himmler's orders in the last weeks of the war. The Reichsfuhrer had endorsed Rascher's sadistic treatment of unarmed prisoners, but had drawn the line at being lied to by the physician who had accepted a gift from Himmler for having fathered 3 children in late middle age. In fact, Rascher and his wife had kidnapped 3 babies from an orphanage and claimed them as their own. It is estimated that the Vanilla spent more on their researches than the Americans invested in developing the first atom bomb. Runes. If there was one arcane obsession shared by both the Volkish, occultist, and the Nazis other than race, it was the runes, which featured on the helmets, weapons, banners, and armored vehicles of German army for reasons largely unknown to their enemies, until after the war. According to Norse legend, the runic alphabet was given to mankind by Odin, the one-eyed god, who wanders the world of men, dispensing wisdom and justice. In the 13th century Icelandic legend, the Volsunga saga, Reinhild, or Brunhild, instructs Siegfried that runes are the root of all things, and assures him that if he carved the Tyre rune on his sword hilt, it would ensure victory in battle. A practice adopted 600 years later by the SS. The association with magic derives from the fact that runes predate the written word in Europe, their starting simple outlines being that carving stone, metal, and wood, which printed the material with the residual personal energy of the scribe. Runes were widely used throughout Europe from 400 BC to protect the sacred burial places of the dead and in the casting of spells and curses. Written language replaced them at the end of the Middle Ages, and even today they maintain their occult associations. Runes are still used for divination, where a magician can meditate meditate on a specific symbol to awaken the corresponding quality or attribute in themselves. It is an ideographic alphabet similar to Egyptian hieroglyphs and Chinese characters. Each rune stands for more than a letter. It is a symbol representing a significant word or concept. Each is said to possess the essence of that idea which can be accessed by an initiate of magic who seeks to tap into its power force. For this reason, the bookish occultists argue that runes were the true expression of ancient Aryan culture, whereas written script was Semitic and superficial. The origin and meaning of the runes were an obsession of the Aryan academics of the Aninarb, who greeted each discovery of runic script in a distant land as validation of German territorial claims. The inference being that the country in question must have been settled by the Teutonic peoples in ancient times. One eminent runic scholar, Joseph Heinz, went so far as to suggest that ley lines running through the Rhineland actually formed huge runic characters, which accounted for the mystical significance of the region. Meanwhile, the mystical significance of the runes inspired Himmler to adopt those which he believed would act as talismans, but protect or inspire his men. The double sig rune, used by the SS, for example, represents victory, and therefore, by adopting it as their insignia, those who wore it would invoke everything associated with successful conquest, including courage, strength, unity, duty, and physical energy.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Himmler's intense interest in the magic power of runes led him to make it compulsory for SS officers to attend courses in runic lore. Alright, so we have a page here with different symbols. The first one is the hangin, which was a pagan symbol for Thor, the god of thunder. There was the Sonnenrad, or sun wheel. Swastika was the ancient Norse symbol of the sun. It was adopted by the 5th SS Panzer Division, Viking. The Sig rune represented victory. Contrary to popular myth, it had a mundane origin, having been designed in 1932 by an employee of Ferdinand Hofstadter, matchmakers. The Gur rune was a symbol of community spirit and of belonging. The Wolfsangel, or wolf hook, was said to ward off danger. It was adopted by the 2nd SS Panzer Division, Das Reich. This version of the Wolfsangel was the insignia of the Dutch SS. The Opfer rune represented self-sacrifice and was used to commemorate the Nazis who were killed in the Munich Putsch. The Eif rune symbolized devotion and loyalty. It was worn by Hitler's personal adjutants. The Leben rune, or life rune, was the symbol of the Lebensborn Society, which cared for illegitimate children of SS men. The Toten rune symbolized death and can be seen on Wolfen SS graves. The Tyre rune, or battle rune, was the ancient symbol of Tyre, the god of war. The Heiselkin represented prosperity and appeared on the SS Rotenkopfring, or Death's Head ring, awarded to SS officers. The Hagel rune was a symbol of faith. The Ola rune represented friendship and kinship through blood. It was adopted by the SS Race and Settlement Office and by the 7th SS Freiwilligen, Gebert's Division, Prince Eugen. Chapter 6. The SS Myth of the Black Knights. The vital idea that inspired the SA was replaced by an idea that was purely satanic, the SS. It was by Joachim Gumpf in 1934. There was nothing normal, noble, or chivalrous about the SS, Schutzstaffel, or personal guard, whose name became synonymous with brutality and mass murder. They were collectively responsible for the death of 14 million innocent civilians and the destruction of innumerable communities and cultures throughout Europe. As overseers of the concentration and death camps, they were directly responsible for the murder of 6 million Jews, as well as 5 million Russians, 2 million Poles, 500,000 Gypsies, and a further 500,000 of their own countrymen whom they murdered because they were homosexual, disabled, or opposed to the Nazi regime. In their own minds and in the fantasies of their leader, former chicken farmer Heinrich Himmler, the SS were the embodiment of the chivalric spirit and the reincarnation of the Teutonic Knights, who were entrusted with the preservation of the Aryan ideal and the extermination of the inferior races, namely the Jews and Slavs, in a cynical attempt to establish continuity with Prussian military tradition. Himmler had named his new SS regiments after those which had brought glory to the empire in the days of Kaiser and the campaigns against Napoleon. But the men of the Totenkopf, Lieberstandard, and Das Reich brought only dishonor to their fatherland. Originally formed in 1922 as an elite personal bodyguard for the Fuhrer, there were still fewer than 200 men when Himmler was appointed Reichsfuhrer in 1929 at the age of 28. Within 4 years, his organizational skills had multiplied their ranks to approximately 50,000. By 1934, the year after Hitler's ascension to power, their numbers had grown to such an extent that Himmler could afford to expel 60,000 undesirables in the bloodless purge. But it was only after the Night of the Long Knives on 30th of June 1934 when SS execution squads rounded up and butchered the SA leadership, including its figurehead, Strom, that the supreme authority of the Black Order was assured. From that day on, the brown-shirted street brawlers of the SA, as well as the security service SD, and even the dreaded Gestapo, the Nazi secret police, were subordinate to the SS. Himmler had remarked with grim satisfaction, "I know that there are many in Germany who feel sick when they see this black tunic. We can understand that," and he was unapologetic when it came to justify his men's ruthless methods. One principle must be absolute for the SS men. We must be honest, decent, loyal, and correct to members of our own blood and to no one else. What happens to the Russians, what happens to the Czechs, is a matter of utter indifference to me. Such good blood of our own is there. Maybe among the nations we shall inquire for ourselves. If necessary, by taking away the children and bringing them from among us, whether the latter or perish in hunger, interest me only insofar as we meet them as slaves for our culture. Apart from that, it does not interest me whether or not 10,000 Russian women collapse from exhaustion while digging a tank ditch. It interests me only insofar as the tank ditch is completed for Germany. Blood and soil. Ironically, Himmler, the site, an assuming son of a Catholic school teacher who rose from pedantic petty party bureaucrat to command one of the most feared fighting units in history, was said to turn pale at the sight of blood. His sadistic streak had to be satisfied vicariously by others, who willingly dirtied their hands on his behalf. As with many in the Nazi hierarchy, he considered himself a man of culture, principles, and ideals. He had studied agriculture at the University of Munich and dreamed of establishing an agricultural academy, which would lead a rural revival. The yeoman on his own acre is the backbone of the German people's strength and character, he had written. If Himmler had prevailed, German industry would have been dismantled and the nation would have been forcibly regressed to the Middle Ages, centered around a feudalistic, self-sufficient peasant economy with himself as liege and lord.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
According to his adjutants, the Reichsfuhrer envisioned himself as the reincarnation of King Heinrich Vogler, Henry the Fowler, 875 through 936, King of Saxony and founder of the First Reich, whom he described as a noble peasant of his people. It is unclear if he took this idea literally, as according to his personal physician, Felix Kirsten, he was also in the habit of conversing along with the spirit of his hero in the dead of the night. This apparent contradiction is explained by the fact that Himmler subscribed to the theory put forward by the mystic Karl Eckert, who believed that each individual is part of a soul group and so is drawn to reincarnate within the group. According to his theory, a man might return his own grandson, or a father and son might be reborn a century later as brothers in order to resolve the differences that divided them in their previous lifetime. Himmler was not ashamed to express his belief in such unconventional and anti-Christian ideas in public. In Zwickau, on the 1000th anniversary of Henry the Fowler's death in 1936, he told an audience of high-ranking SS officers that they were part of an esoteric order who had known each other in a previous lifetime and had been brought together again to fulfill a special mission after previous lifetime, and had been brought to which they could expect to meet again in the future life. The following year, he ordered 20,000 copies of Eckert's book, Temporal Immortality, be distributed among SS members, but the order was cancelled after several of Hitler's inner circle convinced the Fuhrer that Himmler's advocacy of esotericism was undermining the regime's relationship with the church. Such was Himmler's devotion to his namesake, Heinrich, that he made an annual pilgrimage to his tomb to renew his vow to continue the king's civilizing mission in the East, and sat beside it in silent meditation, in the hope of receiving guidance and inspiration from the dead monarch. Ancestry, heritage, culture, and the sacred nature of the land loom large in Himmler's mythos, giving rise to the pernicious Nazi revision of the blood and soil doctrine, which maintained that the Aryans were Übermenschen, the master race, to be serviced by slaves like the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Clearly, his concept of German peasant life was not the pastoral idyll of the German Romantic poets. He envisaged the fields of the fatherland being tilled by Slavic slave laborers, or Slavic slave laborers, including children who would toil from dusk till dawn until they dropped dead from starvation and overwork, while their German masters looked on unmoved. Tragically, his vision became reality for hundreds of thousands of human beings. SS initiation. With imposing physique, poor eyesight, and chronic digestive disorders, Himmler made a pathetic figurehead for his Praetorian Guard. Nevertheless, entry requirements for the SS were initially stringent in the extreme, although they were later relaxed to accommodate suitable candidates in the occupied countries, especially after the defeat in Stalingrad, when the tanks of the SS were severely depleted. In addition to qualifying as exceptionally physical specimens of Nordic manhood, officers had to prove their Aryan ancestry back to 1750, while lower ranks only had to demonstrate that their family tree was untainted by Jewish blood as far back as 1900. Exceptions were made for Himmler's favorites who were suspected of having Jewish ancestors, such as iron-hearted Reinhard Heydrich, with whom Himmler said he had overcome the Jew in himself by intellectual means. The whole Nazi concept of a pure Aryan race was as farcical as it was tragic, for even Himmler had to admit to having Jewish relatives by marriage. Once accepted, the typical 18-year-old SS novice underwent a lengthy period of training and indoctrination, during which he was permitted to wear the uniform but without the collar patches. These were awarded by them 9 November each year, on the first anniversary of the 1923 putsch, which followed his acceptance into the order. On the following 30th of January, the anniversary of Hitler's accession to power, the candidate would receive his provisional SS identity card. But he had to wait until his 28th birthday before being given a full identity card and the collar patches. In addition to his military training, which was designed in Himmler's words to teach every man how to kill and how to die, candidates were subjected to indoctrination in the SS Credo, a version of the Catholic Catechism, which demanded that every man memorize the answers to such little questions as, why did we believe in Germany and the Fuhrer? The required answer ran as follows: because we believe in God, we believe in Germany, which he created in his world, and in the Fuhrer, Adolf Hitler. Descendants. Once the credo was learned, the candidate was required to attend a new pagan initiation ceremony, which culminated with him taking was to define his fate to that of his Fuhrer moving to death. He swear to thee, Adolf Hitler, I swear to thee and the superiors, thou shalt appoint obedience unto death. So help me God. It was by exploiting the German trade and questioning obedience to authority in this way that the Nazis ensnared so many innocent young men into blind obedience to their wild orders. Obedience was equated with religious observance and authority of the divine will. To question the state and its figurehead was tantamount to questioning the will of God. It has long been thought that such oaths were initiated by the Nazis, but in fact they had previously been implemented by Kaiser Wilhelm II. On 10 December 1891, he told recruits, "You have now sworn allegiance to me in the presence of a priest of God and before this altar. You have sworn allegiance to me. This means you are now my soldiers. You have given yourselves to me body and soul. You know henceforth only one enemy, my enemy. I may order you to shoot down your own relatives, your brothers, or even your parents, which certainly God forbid, but even then you must obey my orders without question." Only after his obligatory service in the Labor Corps and the Army was the successful candidate entitled to wear full SS insignia and carry a ceremonial dagger engraved with runic symbols which were intended to bestow magical powers of protection on the wearer. The SS insignia were not, as many have thought, representative of lightning flashes, but were two sigrunes, which were symbolic of power and victory. Since ancient times, the dagger has been considered a sacred weapon and was used in ceremonial magic, where it represented the grounding of the god force in the realm of matter, in the same way that the lightning rod channels electricity to the earth. Prior to 1939, all ranks also received a silver death's head signet ring, but during the war it was given only to SS commanders who had held a senior rank for more than 3 years. Again, the ring was a clear counterpart to the magical rings worn by the pagan priests of ancient times. In Germany, these were known as Dragosi. After serving in Labor Corps or the Army, the SS novice was assigned to whichever branch of the service his superiors deemed most suitable for his particular skills. The SS had their own regular army unit, the Waffen-SS, who were considered Hitler's loyal shock troops. In the concentration camps, the SS doubled as guards and executioners, or they could be transferred to duties supervising and assisting the Gestapo to round up and interrogate members of the resistance in occupied countries. The most notorious unit of all was the Einsatzgruppe, or Death Squad, whose sole duty was to act as an extermination unit, instigating Hitler's policy of ethnic cleansing, or genocide, in the wake of the advancing German troops. So we're going to go ahead and leave that right there as we go to our first music break. And on this break, we have the lovely, the talented Miss Mia Savage with Premiering Crypto, Let Me Be Your Home, Our New Reality, and Your Skeleton. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Fall into my mystery. Don't cry, baby, 'cause I don't cry. Come with me to our new reality. You don't need him. All the shit that he brings anymore. You're mine. You're mine. Tonight. You're mine.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So tonight we have story time with me, TessaTNT, and we have been reading The Nazis and the Occult, The Dark Forces Unleashed by the Third Reich. I'm hoping we can finish it this evening, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and share this warning once more. Trigger warning, this video may contain graphic violence, descriptions, or depictions of violence, which can be triggering for individuals who have experienced violence or have been exposed to traumatic events, as well as discrimination and hate speech content that includes racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and other forms of discrimination, which can be deeply upsetting and triggering for those who have been subjected to such attitudes and behaviors. Viewer and listener discretion is advised, and this is for educational purposes only. From cradle to grave. Every aspect of the SS man's life, from his baptism to his funeral, was controlled by the state. At baptism, the firstborn would receive a personal gift from the Reich's Führer in the form of a silver-plated mug, while the fourth child received a silver candlestick engraved with the legend, "More but a link in the endless chain of the SS clan." Himmler even issued instructions on how his men should commit suicide in the proper fashion, so as not to bring dishonor to the regiment. Even in death, the SS were distinguished from the regular troops by a wooden token moon in place of the conventional cross on their graves. A dossier was kept, and each member detailing every aspect of their public and private lives, including their financial affairs. Even their prospective marriage partners were screened to ensure the conditions of race and healthy stock were fulfilled. Once they had been approved, even the ceremony was Nazified, purged of Christian elements, and officiated over by the local SS leader, who replaced the priest on May 3rd, 1943. Himmler made his views on conventional Christian marriage explicit. Marriage as it is today is the satanic book of the Roman Catholic Church. Regarded dispassionately and without prejudice, our present marriage laws are absolutely immoral. They lead to a decrease in the size of families. After the war, monogamy will cease to be enforced upon promiscuous mankind. The SS and the heroes of this war will have a wife who shall be considered to be his legitimate as the first. The permission to have two wives will be a mark of distinction. The racially pure blood of German heroes will be transmitted to as many offspring as possible. Any soldier who has distinguished himself in the war will be allowed to replace a non-Aryan wife with one who is pure Aryan. Himmler's obsessive interest in the procreation of healthy Aryan offspring is said to have found its ultimate expression in the Lebensborn, SS stud farms to which every unmarried woman over 30 was required to report and to put herself at their disposal to be made pregnant. Ironically, these human breeding farms proved inexplicably unproductive. The infant mortality rate was twice the national average, despite the administration of common herb teas whose ingredients were cultivated in gardens attached to the concentration camps. Ghosts and graveyards. It is no exaggeration to say that the Nazis had some very odd ideas indeed, considering that their leaders were no more than street thugs and petty bureaucrats. It is unsurprising that they embraced such eccentric theories as Bender's hollow earth model or Orbiger's world ice theory. Perhaps the most bizarre practice was that advocated by the SS magazine Die Schwarze Corpse, the Black Horde, which encouraged its readers to populate in graveyards where German heroes had been interred. Lists of suitable sites were published only after they had been approved by the department of the SS, whose job it was to ensure that the cemeteries had not been polluted by non-Aryan spirits. Jewish cemeteries were systematically desecrated and the sites redeveloped, but there was one significant exception. The ancient Jewish cemetery at Worms was spared because the highly superstitious Himmler believed that the magical geomancy of the site, which dated back to the 11th century, would be disturbed if the alignments were altered. It is also likely that he feared some form of divine retribution if any of the 2,000 graves would be disturbed, as the bodies had been buried in sacred sand brought from Jerusalem. Augsburg Castle. The castle was adapted to serve as a sort of SS monastery. There, a secret chapter of the other S symbol each year, which had to devote himself to a ritual of spiritual exercises aimed mainly at concentration, the equivalent of prayer before discussing the higher policy of the SS. And that is why SS created When Himmler surveyed the ruins of the Schloss near Paderborn in Westphalia in the summer of 1934, he knew immediately that he had found his Camelot, although it would require several million Reich marks to restore it to its former glory, and it would require several million and considerably more to furnish it in a manner befitting the spiritual center of the SS. There was no doubt in the frugal Himmler's mind that it would be money well spent. Legend had it that the castle would be the last surviving stronghold against a furious future assault by hordes from the east, and the ever-superstitious Himmler intended to be safe behind its impregnable walls. Furthermore, according to occult experts in the Innenurb, the fort was situated at the intersection of several ley lines, which meant that the Earth's energies were concentrated at its triangular-shaped foundations, and would be evoked during magical rituals to be directed to whatever end the practitioner desired.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa Welcome Bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Once the local authority had been persuaded to lease Wewelsburg for the nominal rent of 1 mark per year, and the project had secured a government grant, the renovation work began in earnest. Each suite was furnished in a style befitting a German hero, and was replete with richly embroidered tapestries, heavy brocade curtains, ornate antique furniture carved from solid oak by the finest craftsmen, and plush carpets that would not be out of place in a sultan's palace. Even the wrought iron door handles and candlesticks were the finest examples of German craftsmanship. At its heart was the banqueting hall measuring 45 by 30 meters, which its imposing Arthurian round table around which were arranged 13 carved wooden chairs upholstered in pigskin and bearing the name of the Obergruppenführer, who was to be honored with a place at Himmler's court. The number of guests symbolized the 12 signs of the zodiac, with Himmler at its head, but may also have been intended to parody Judas and the 12 Christian disciples whose influence was to be eradicated with the establishment of the New World Order. Directly below the Great Hall lay the hushed stone circular vault known as the Realm of the Dead, which housed 12 black pedestals, each in a niche ranged around a hollow shaft. This was the crypt in which the fallen knights were to find their eternal rest in the event that their bodies could not be recovered from the battlefield. The coats of arms were to be burnt in their stead and the ashes placed in a porcelain urn. For it was hoped future generations would venerate the founders of the 1,000-year Reich. The official line was that Wellsburg was to serve as an SS training school, but at least one insider witnessed magical rites being performed in an antechamber of the castle. In his memoirs as Brigadeführer, Walter Schellenberg recalls the moment he inadvertently walked in on a psychic circle whose members had been instructed to project their mental energy into an adjacent room where a suspect, General von Frisch, was being questioned. Himmler had ordered them all to concentrate their minds on exerting a suggestive influence over the general that would induce him to tell the truth. To see these 12 SS leaders sitting in a circle, sunken deep in silent contemplation, was indeed a remarkable sight. With his distinctive rituals, oaths, and insignia, every SS man was made to understand that he was more than merely a member of an elite fighting unit. He was an initiate in a secret religious order, a superior being in an immoral universe existing beyond the human concepts of good and evil. With his distinctive rituals, in practical terms, he was above the law. No court had jurisdiction over the SS, only his superiors could judge him. He was conditioned to act without compassion for his enemies and without mercy for those condemned by the state as unworthy of life, for they were Untermenschen, subhuman. Once he put on the black uniform, he was not required to have a conscience or thought of his own. He could kill with impunity and consider every brutal act a service to the state. Chapter 7: Satan and the Swastika. Something profoundly evil does not lurk behind Germany's present tyranny. Where, indeed, is evil to be found? And that was by Louis Spence. In 1940, the British occult historian Louis Spence, author of a best-selling book on hypnotism, published an anti-Nazi pamphlet, Occult Causes of the Present War, in which he voiced what many people had suspected for years: the idea that Nazi Germany was the creation of satanic forces intent on instigating a new dark age. In this work, Spence declared, the author reveals the nature and existence of hidden powers that work behind the Nazi organization, which he believes is but the outward, though appropriate, manifestation of Satanists and diabolic agencies which employ it for their own malignant purposes. Spence was not, as one might imagine, in the employ of Allied black propaganda agencies, but was genuinely convinced that socioeconomic factors, militant nationalism, and the power of Hitler's personality alone could not account for the emergence of his new empire. The Führer is merely the creature and instrument of forces which for centuries have then making use of this or that dictator, tyrant or other puppet notoriety to further their own arcane intentions, which, in a word, were the creation of general chaos and the final destruction of humanity. Spence argued that practically every European revolution was instigated by those who sought to overthrow Christianity, and therefore there must have been a malevolent intelligence exercising its influence on the disaffected, ruthlessly ambitious, and impressionable in Germany during the wars, as there had been in revolutionary Russia, in the Robespierres in France, and in Franco's Spain. Although Franco's conservative revolution had been actively supported by the Catholic Church. The new pagan movement in Germany, the uncompromisingly satanic origin of its method and intention admits of but little dispute. The replacement of the cross by the swastika, the abrogation of the sacrament in favor of a rite resembling that of the mysteries of Demeter, persecution of the Christian churches and their priests and ministers, and the replacement of the ritual or service and homology by blasphemous offices and songs, the erection of a new godhead, the instruction of the young in the myths of the past instead of in scriptures. All this affords the clearest proof of Germany's relapse into the type of paganism which the Satanists, policy and propaganda have invariably regarded as the most fitting medium for the destruction and expiration of the Christian faith. Of course, being a vociferous opponent of Christianity or organized religion per se does not necessarily qualify someone as a Satanist. That was the Spear's argument of the early church. More often, those seeking to loosen the stranglehold of the church, and particularly the Catholic Church, were simply aspiring to self-determination or social reform. But Spence and other writers who shared his belief in good and evil pointed to the deep-rooted practice of witchcraft and magic in Germany, which they presented as prima facie evidence that the country was a breeding ground for the black arts. While the Germans' morbid fascination with the dark lore of the forest proved that the population, specifically the peasantry, were predisposed to paganism. In truth, it was the rural Germans who were the most loyal churchgoers, superstition and ignorance being more likely to drive such people into the paternal protection of the church than into the coven.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
But Spence was right in one respect. The German psyche could be said to be inclined to morbid romanticism, and the Nazis had conditioned the population to see themselves and their enemies in terms of Wagnerian archetypes. Propaganda portrayed the statuesque blue-eyed blonde men of the SS as Siegfried personified, while the Jews and Slavs were the grasping dwarfs of the underworld. This trust of the outsider was deeply rooted in the nation's psyche and clearly ripe for exploitation. This inherent tendency to think in terms of racial stereotypes was not exclusively a German vice. It was symptomatic of this period, as society was reduced to the law of the jungle by the Great Depression. America had its gangsters, Europe had its fascist thugs. Lawlessness and extremism were on the rise across the Western world. Evil in all its forms was fighting for a foothold in the 20th century. Even the elderly Kaiser was reported to be looking to blame Germany's defeat in the First World War on malign and faceless forces, namely the Freemasons and the mythical and fictional occult brotherhood known as the Illuminati. who were reputedly behind every conspiracy in history and continue to be cited in the present day as the unseen hand behind every tragedy from the invasion of Iraq to the assassination of Diana, Princess of Wales. In his country retreat at Dorn, Kaiser Wilhelm was said to have pored over volumes devoted to the occult and the arcane in a vain search for the answers which haunted his waking hours and disturbed his restless dreams. How could he have been tricked into gambling the destiny of his 60 million subjects in a war that Germany had blundered into? And why did he squander his opportunities during the stalemate on the Western Front, which gave the Americans time to enter decisively on the side of the Allies? Moreover, how did Germany lose the war after having won several significant battles? Such matters were soon to preoccupy his successor, Adolf Hitler, whose initial aim was to avenge the betrayal of 1918 and restore national pride, but whose inherent flaws made him a more suitable vessel for malevolent spirits who were drawn by the aura of resentment and repressed aggression surrounding the wounded German psyche and, once admitted, would possess it. Hitler was sufficiently shrewd not to lay blame on imaginary secret societies. His choice of scapegoats proved to be targets who were conveniently out in the open, readily identifiable, according to Nazi racist ideology, and could be eliminated without fear of the civilian population raising a finger to protest. The Jews had been portrayed in propaganda films and even in children's school books as vermin spreading disease and corruption. The pure Aryan soul of capitalists had been blamed by the Nazi press for rampant inflation of the 1920s, and the communists have been demonized for organizing industrial unrest, which threatened the stability of the state. The average German would be glad to see the back of all of them. The communists might put up a fight, but the SA, who were spoiling for a brawl, vastly outnumbered them. The Jews could be persuaded to accept resettlement, but they would have to surrender their property in exchange for the promise of safe passage. In this way, evil crept insidiously into German society, drop by drop, like a slow poison lulling the conscience of the nation into a coma. The nature of evil. Whether one believes in evil as a conscious entity or defines it as a lack of empathy, the denial of the divine on oneself and others, Spence was spot on when he noted, evil seeks its like its own reflection in its ministers. It is indeed its prime imperfection that it is doomed to work with tools whose temper is as unsound as its own. Implements which outwardly seem trenchant and effective, but which the impact of use soon lose their keenness and reveal the baseness of their alloy. The whole history of evil shows that it is capable of functioning only by fits and starts, that it does not possess the reserves and staying power for its opposite, and that though its purpose and impulse are timeless, its vigor and judgment are unequal to the full achievement of its designs. Evil people are capable of wreaking havoc and causing suffering on a vast scale, but they are by definition self-centered and therefore self-defeating, which ensures that they are fated to fail. Evil can only succeed in the short term only if there is a lack of determination to limit the damage that its agents can do. The Allies sorely lacked this resolve when Hitler began to assert the German people's needs for Lebensraum, living space, in the mid-1930s. The French in particular were weary of war, and the British buzzword for the period was appeasement. It was no secret that certain elements of European society and an influential section in America openly admired Hitler for the economic miracle he had apparently been able to create, like excessive borrowing with no intention of repaying the loans, and for his firm stance on the Jews. And this atmosphere of grudge and respect, the Nazis were able to tear up the punitive Versailles Treaty, order massive rearmament under the noses of the Allies, and take back Rhineland in 1936 without a shot being fired. Tragically, the Second World War could have been averted at this point if France had opposed the reoccupation of Rhineland. German officers had orders to withdraw their troops if the French army deployed their forces to the region, but they remained in their barracks. Having tested the Allies' resolve and found them wanting, Hitler went on to successfully demand the annexation of Austria, the return of the Sudetenland, the Danzig corridor, and finally, neutral Czechoslovakia, before the Allies realized how foolishly naive they had been and announced they would stand by Poland in the event of a German invasion. By then, short of declaring a full-scale war, it was too late to stop Nazi aggression. It is true that the evil nature of the Nazi regime was not fully revealed until the liberation of the concentration camps in 1945. But only the most ignorant and callous individual could have protested that they had no idea that the fascist dictatorship would be capable of. As the saying goes, it only requires good men to do nothing for evil to exist. But is the notion of evil merely a convenient explanation for abhorrent human behavior, a concept which should serve as an excuse for not taking action or responsibility because we imagine it to be something beyond our control? Or is there evidence that evil exists as a malign and conscious influence using criminals and tyrants as its agents? With regard to the charge that the Nazi hierarchy were servants of Satan, Spence observed, unless there had been a continuous tradition of evil, a steadily cumulative growth of its powers, and a definite and official leadership to put them into practice, it can never have seized its opportunities so skillfully or appropriately, or have capitalized on them so successfully. He noted that the deities of the world's religions do not manifest themselves to their worshippers, and therefore, why should Lucifer do otherwise? Nazism, he explained, was not initiated by Satanists, but infiltrated by them so that it could become more of their instrument for chaos and destruction. The process is as old as history, but history cannot remember a period nor a condition so appropriate to or so promising for the achievement of the grand satanic purpose as those which presented themselves in Germany between the years 1920 and 1940. In Spence's eyes, Nazi Germany was the very personification of Faust, selling its soul for temporal power. That pride which is the basis of the satanic heresy is preeminently developed in the Nazi creed, along with its concordant vices of mendacity, subtle and cowardly distortion of the truth, assassination open and secret, the massacre and persecution of the helpless, in a word, unbridled diabolical license. If the Prince of Darkness in person had undertaken to government that nation, it is difficult to suggest how he could have borne himself otherwise than its unhappy leader has done, or with more fantastic wickedness. Fighting the good fight. Spence and his occult colleagues were not the only people to express the belief that Germany had sold its soul to the dark side. The most vociferous critics of the Nazi regime repeatedly spoke in apocalyptic terms. The exiled queen Wilhelmina of Holland described the war as being between God and conscience and the forces of darkness, while Cardinal Hensley, Archbishop of Westminster, told his congregation, "You are on the side of the angels in the struggle against the pride of rebellious Lucifer." The Anglican Bishop of Ipswich, Dr. W.G. Whittingham, was equally convinced of the righteousness of the Allied cause and the nature of the threat posed by their enemies. "We are not fighting flesh and blood," he wrote, "but the devil in the persons of Hitler and his gang." Such warnings were not merely biblical rhetoric. Many of those living under Nazi occupation or who sheltered from the falling bombs of the Luftwaffe were sincere in their belief that they were resisting evil incarnate. It was only later, when they learned of the scale of Nazi atrocities from the cinema newsreels and from the lips of the victims during their testimony at Nuremberg, that they realized the terrible truth that human beings are capable of truly evil acts even without the urging of external influences. So many of the concentration camp commandants and the bureaucrats who ordered the transportations to Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Dachau lacked the imagination to realize the transportation's awful consequences of their actions. Others simply didn't care. They were devoid of conscience and compassion. A few even believed that they were acting for the greater good. This willful indifference to the suffering of others gave rise to what became known as the banality of evil, and it explains the otherwise incomprehensible actions of serial killers and habitual criminals today as it did the actions of those complicit in the genocide effected by the Third Reich. The lone voice of the anti-Nazi student organization, the White Rose, failed to prick the conscience of those who acquiesced in their crimes perpetrated by Hitler's thugs. Its young leaders were beheaded for merely having the temerity to voice opposition to the regime, but they willingly sacrificed themselves in a vain effort to awaken their countrymen to the nature of the contagion that had corrupted them, which encouraged children to inform on their parents, and the spiteful to denounce their neighbors. One of their pamphlets expressed openly what many must have feared to think. Every word that comes from Hitler's mouth is a lie. When he says peace, he means war. And when he blasphemously uses the name of the Almighty, he means the power of evil, the fallen angel, Satan. His mouth is the foul-smelling maw of hell, and his mind is at bottom accursed. True, we must conduct a struggle against the National Socialist terrorist state, which rational means, but whoever today still doubts the reality, the existence of demonic powers, is felt by a wide margin to understand the metaphysical background of this war. Behind the concrete, the visible events, behind all objective, logical considerations, we find a rational element, a struggle against the demon, against the servants of the Antichrist. Everywhere and at all times, demons have been lurking in the dark, waiting for the moment when man is weak, when of his own volition he leaves his place in order of creation, as founded for him by God in freedom. When he yields to the force of evil, separates himself from the powers of a higher order, and after voluntarily taking the first step, he is driven on to the next and the next at a furiously accelerating rate. Oh man, there's a picture here with, looks like it could be a teacher, and a whole group of kids doing the Nazi salute. It's so sad, those poor kids. The German people's apparent acceptance of the demonic as a conscious, influential entity was not solely the result of centuries of indoctrination by the church. German intellectuals, writers, and artists of both the Romantic era and the rational reactionary period had acknowledged the existence of evil as a latent force within each and every individual. Goethe in Dichtung und Wahrheit
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Gave one of the most penetrating insights into the true nature of evil as it was to manifest to Adolf Hitler when he wrote, "This demonic element manifests itself in all corporal and incorporeal things, and even expresses itself most distinctly in animals. Yet it is primarily in its relation to man that we observe its mysterious workings. But the most fearful manifestation of the demonic is when it is predominating in some individual character. Such persons are not always the most eminent men, either in intellect or special gifts, and they are seldom distinguished by goodness of heart. Tremendous energy seems to emanate from them, and they exercise a wonderful power over all creatures and even over the elements, and indeed, who shall say now, much further such influence may extend. All the moral powers combined are no avail against them. In vain does the more enlightened portion of mankind attempt to throw suspicion upon them as dupes or as deceivers. The masses are attracted by them. Seldom or ever do they find their equals among their contemporaries. Nothing can vanquish them but the universe itself, with which they have begun the fray, and it is from observation of facts such as these that the strange but tremendous saying has arisen, Nemo contra dum nisi will ipse. Nobody can be against the divine will but God himself. In other words, evil is merely the contrary impulse to evolution which manifests in as traditional vices. In modern psychological terms, it is the result of an unbalanced psyche due to an inflated ego which distorts the person's perception of the world, like a spoilt child who believes he is the center of the universe. But during times of national crisis, such as in the early years of the Second World War, combatants found it necessary to create an archetypal image of their enemy as evil incarnate in order to justify the act of killing, which in peacetime would have been a crime and a cardinal sin. But there were many who dismissed such rational explanations and persisted in their belief in the existence of demons and devils because they were far easier to accept than intellectual concepts such as ego, the superego, and the id. Occultist Louis Spence wrote, "As Adolf Hitler has advanced in life, there has steadily grown up within him another man, rather an evil spirit of the most violent and deadly kind, to whose daily expansion he has offered little or no resistance. In a word, the malign power has seen in this base and pitiless creature, utterly lost to all human sensibility, and moved only by crude and elementary emotions of revenge and mock sentiment, precisely the kind of vehicle which it sought, and which it ever seeks to carry out its infernal purpose. That he is impelled by forces, the true nature of which he does not comprehend, is plainly obvious from the account of those conversations he held with Sir Neville Henderson before the outbreak of war, which makes it evident that he is under the domination of influences of which he is only the mouthpiece." Spence assumed that the lengthy silences which Hitler was known to precede even significant decision betrayed the fact that he was listening for the inner voice. His mind and will are, in a word, at mercy of that force which, throughout the ages, has masqueraded under many names, but which, nevertheless, has only one identity, his Luciferian master, who is eternally incapable of speaking the truth. Such beliefs persist to this day. The Cathedral of Light. The following account of the climax of the 1936 Nuremberg rally is taken from the official party account of the event. Offizieller bericht über den Verlauf des Rechtsartiges mit ziemlichen Kongressreden im Zentralverlag der SDAP, translated by C. Roland. The Nuremberg Party rally concluded on Friday evening with an impressive roll call of political leaders. As the setting sun cast its red radiance over the towers of Nuremberg, 90,000 of Adolf Hitler's followers and 25,000 flag bearers marched in wide columns through the Dutzendteich. All Nuremberg was alert to witness the impressive spectacle. Shortly after 7:30, when it is almost dark, a floodlight shines into the sky. Spotlights illuminate more than 200 swastika banners that flutter from 12-meter-high flagpoles in the evening breeze. Suddenly one senses the enormous scale of the field and absorbs the memorable image. More lights illuminate the white marble podium, a fantastic, unforgettable sight. All those present stand in hushed silence, motionless in awe of the beauty of the scene. The greatest of the Führer's stately buildings on the Nuremberg Reich Party rally grounds is revealed in all its glory. More lights sweep the field, revealing the limitless brown columns, demonstrating their precision marching, until suddenly, at a command, all 90,000 are in position. The celebratory mood electrifies everyone as they anticipate the experience that awaits them. They cannot imagine what will actually happen. Orders come from a loudspeaker. Vehicles race everywhere. Moments before 8 o'clock, spotlights at the southern end of the stadium dim. This is when the Führer will make his entrance. Familiar cries that accompany the Führer's arrival echo from the Dutzendteich train station. The procession circles the field and suddenly 180,000 people look to the stars. 150 blue spotlights send their beams hundreds of meters into the sky to form the most impressive cathedral that mortals will ever see. There at the entrance we have the first sight of the Führer. He stands motionless looking upwards, then turns and strides past the long columns of his loyal fighters, 20 deep with his aides following behind. A sea of cries of Heil and euphoria erupts around him. Stars sparkle through the deep blue curtain of the Cathedral of Light, and the emblems of the German nation billow in the soft breeze. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we're going to go to our second music break. Yeah, we're really going to try to finish this book tonight. We're going to move on to something else. Alrighty. So, we have the Miss Mia Savage from the Phoenix, Arizona area with Bury Me in Heaven, Singing to Your Grave, Not a Phase, and the bottom line, you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to chumbacasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
right now between fear and love. Right now, between fear and love.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls. Hope that was a good break for you. Very relaxing. I think I'm gonna sleep good tonight. But we're gonna get back into story time. I'm hoping to be done with this book, and we're just gonna go a whole nother route for next story time. I don't know if we're gonna do Deepak Chopra or something else. I'm gonna look at my books from my mentor cat, and to me is interesting that I'm using books from deceased people that I have been given, but yeah. So we're going to be hopefully finishing with this one. The Nazis and the Occult, the Dark Forces Unleashed by the Third Reich. And as I said before, I do not support or believe in or think in any way what these guys did was acceptable or even humane. It's very, very sad to me, and the things I'm reading about demonism as far as Satanism, etc., explains a lot. I mean, you could see evil when you look at videos and stuff of Hitler and the Third Reich, etc., but yeah. If we don't learn from our history, we're doomed to repeat it, so I firmly believe that it's okay to read this. Like I said, I don't accept it, but so we're gonna get into that. I'm going to open the warning really quick. Trigger warning. Just so you know, this is bad stuff. Trigger warning, this video may contain graphic violence, depictions of violence, descriptions of violence. It can be triggering for individuals who have experienced violence or have been exposed to traumatic events. we're also most likely going to be reading about discrimination and hate speech, and content that includes racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and other forms of discrimination, which can be deeply upsetting and triggering for those who have been subjected to such attitudes and behaviors. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. This is for educational purposes only, and as I said before, we don't learn from our past, we're doomed to repeat it. Alright, let's try to get this in the bag. We'll see. We'll try our best. Just double check my speaker. Yep, everything looks good. The Nuremberg rituals, an invocation of Mars. They conjure up the demonic powers of the ancient Germanic pantheon, and because that lust for fight comes alive in them, which we find in the ancient Germans, a spectacle will be performed in Germany compared with which the French Revolution may look like an innocent ideal. Heinrich Heine, 1835. Wow. So the uninitiated, the Nuremberg rallies represented a celebration of German nationalism, adoration of the Führer, and an impressive display of military might. They were much more than elaborately staged spectacles. They were a triumph of the will. To borrow the title of Leni Riefenstahl's film documenting the 1934 Nazi Party rally, and an invocation of Mars, the pagan god of war. Hitler may have been an ill-educated bohemian, driven by the basis of human instincts, but he intuitively knew how to exploit his innate capacity for manipulating the masses into acting as a mindless mob. He was also shrewd enough to understand that the power of his personality was not enough to induce even his most fervent followers to swear undying allegiance to their flag, their Führer, or the fatherland. He needed to involve them in the formalized ritual so that their fate would be allied to his, for better or for worse. This was the true purpose of the Nuremberg rallies. They acted as an insidious form of quasi-religious magic ritual, perversion of both the Catholic sacrament and a pagan consecration of the weapons with which Nazi Germany would wage war, with Hitler as high priest and his inner circle in the role of acolytes. It was not necessary for the participants to be aware of the part they were playing. They were simply swept along on a tide of heightened emotion, expertly and cynically stage-managed by Hitler's archetype power spirit, who understood the seductive power of making each member of the crowd believe that they were participating in a heroic Wagnerian pageant, and so had become part of something greater than themselves. All the elements of invoking the dark side of the psyche were harnessed by spirit to focus the mass ranks of the Führer's followers in a single purpose: the awakening of the collective will. The stadium formed a magic circle from which the non-believers were excluded. Within this sacred space, the crowds were whipped up into an ecstasy of expectation by ritual drumming, blaring fanfares, fluttering banners in the sight of mass ranks, black-shirted SS troops and brown-shirted SA stormtroopers. Stormtroopers, that's crazy. Sorry. I know I've heard that before, but every time I hear it, I'm like, what? That seems to be Star Wars. What is going on with that? Marching with automated precision, this was designed to impress upon the onlookers the idea that they were privileged to be allowed to participate, that they were elite initiates with a special order and invincible so long as they remained loyal. Basic human need to conform was ruthlessly exploited, with each section afforded their own uniform, awards, ritual ceremonies, and insignia. Even the women and children were made to join Hitler Youth and the BDM under Duscher Mädchen, the League of German Girls. As the crowd waited in the hot sun, Wagner's music evoked racial memories of Nordic heroes and the mythic tradition of Aryan supremacy, after which stirring marches boasted of military glory yet to come. Banners of red, white, and black fluttered in the afternoon breeze. The traditional colors of war, terror, and death. The late arrival of the Fuhrer was designed for maximum impact, his arrival triggering a release of tension and idol worship akin to a modern rock concert. Overlooking the ceremony stood the high priest of his Black Order, Hitler's inner circle. This hierarchy was designed to give the illusion of order and of unity. In truth, Hitler's acolytes were a self-serving rabble who would have turned on each other had it not been for the overbearing personality of the Fuhrer, holding his squabbling brood together. As dusk descended on the stadium, 200 searchlights were aimed at the sky to form what Speer called a cathedral of light. His words were well chosen. Clearly, the purpose had been to create the illusion of a magical temple.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It only lacked the climactic act, a blood sacrifice, to seal the pact with the dark forces they had invoked. In its place, Hitler consecrated the flags of new SS battalions by bringing them together with a sacred blood banner that had been carried in the Feldmunich Putsch of 1923, and which was stained with the blood of Nazi martyrs as the crowd responded with hoarse cries of Sieg Heil. There would be time enough for blood sacrifice in the years to come on a scale undreamt of by even their most bloodthirsty forebears. Oh my gosh, this picture of the searchlights basically being pointed into the sky and the mass of human beings holding these flags. Holy shnikes. I could see how people's minds would be blown. Wow. That is impressive to say the least for a very bad cause. Not what they're doing, just the lights and everything to form some sort of temple or something. Conclusion: the shadow of the swastika. Contrary to popular myth, there is no documentary evidence to support the belief that Hitler and his inner circle were practicing magicians or occultists of any kind. In fact, Hitler is on record as having expressed his contempt for Volkisch occultists of the Germanen and their Wotan-worshipping brethren. If the Nazis had been devil's disciples, why did they not proclaim their allegiance in 1940, when they had conquered most of Europe as proof that their Dark Lord and Master was superior to the Judeo-Christian God? Instead, they talked of supplanting the church with their own neo-pagan religion, which, as any nature-loving pagan knows, is not the same as Satanism. Quite the contrary, in fact. Those who persist in their belief that Hitler was a practitioner of the dark arts, and that Himmler was his high priest, argue that all magicians, and Satanists in particular, are expressly forbidden to speak of their practices to anyone other than fellow initiates. In support of this, they cite the magician's credo: to dare, to will, to know, and to remain silent. However, neither the notorious Aleister Crowley nor self-confessed Satanist Anton LaVey, the two most vociferous exponents of the dark arts in modern times, felt it necessary to adhere to that dictum. Neither is there any anecdotal evidence to support the claims made by crypto-historians, who have attempted to rewrite history with the Nazis recast as willing instruments of unnameable forces, dark forces. While it is a matter of record that the Nazis financed expeditions to Tibet and other supposed centers of esoteric power in search of holy artifacts, they did so primarily to establish a connection between Germans and Aryans. A racial rather than a religious quest, such distorted images have taken root. Because of decades, mainstream historians relied on two primary sources to prove the extent of the Nazis: obsession with the occult, both of which are highly dubious to say the least. Hermann Rochning's fabricated memoirs have provided a wealth of fictitious quotes in which Hitler revealed a familiarity with esoteric lore. Recently, it came to light that the former Gauleiter had only met his Führer on one occasion, and that was only briefly. At no time did Rochning have a private audience with Hitler as he had claimed. Equally misleading has been Trevor Ravencroft's unquestionably fictional account of Hitler's occult initiation. The Spear of Destiny, which was published and accepted as fact, allegedly against the author's wishes. But as this present work has demonstrated, had Hitler had neither the self-discipline nor the inclination to follow the so-called left-hand path. Even if he had aspirations to ally himself with diabolical forces, he would have proven a poor pupil. It is fallacy that black magicians simply submit to the dark side or sell their souls in a Faustian pact with the devil and are instantly granted access to forbidden knowledge and power. Every magician, black or white, must first master mental discipline of meditation and creative visualization to open their third eye, organ of psychic sensitivity, and thereafter practice such demanding tasks as the creation of thought forms. It is only after many years of rigorous training and devotion to the work, the mysteries, as they are called in esoteric circles, the initiate can choose which path to follow. The path of self-realization and selfless service, or the path of self-serving self-indulgence. Of course, those who elect to take the left-hand path do not consider themselves evil in the traditional sense of the word. They believe that they have the right to do as they will, was the notorious Aleister Crowley termed it, and that by doing so, they are merely asserting their contempt for the constraints and superstitious conventions of Orthodox religion. And this is the point at which the paths of the satanic magician Adolf Hitler and his associates converge. For while it is indisputable that Hitler and the Nazis were not active disciples of the devil, they did indulge their basest instincts and satiated their sadistic appetites to the detriment of their true nature, or higher self. In this sense, what these men did and became was the very definition of evil. They suppressed their own humanity and refused to see it in their victims. Moreover, they corrupted others, some by force, others by simply sanctioning their acts as brutality on their former neighbors and fellow countrymen who were deemed unworthy of the right to life. Some of the worst excesses of the Nazi era were carried out by ordinary men and women who were encouraged to give vent to their spite and vindictiveness, free of the threat of reprisal or the prospect of being brought to account for their actions. This was possible because both the perpetrators of these crimes and their Nazi masters considered themselves to be beyond good and evil. In short, the Nazi regime was capable of unleashing the torments of hell without assistance from supernatural forces. But that does not mean that such forces were not at work in the world at the time. Only that they were not in a form which we would understand or recognize as demonic.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The aim of ceremonial magic is focusing on an adept's will to bring about change in consciousness or to effect a change in their environment. The Nazis were practitioners of magic in its truest, pure sense, but they did so unconsciously, and because they were unaware of what they were doing and the nature of the forces they had unleashed, they found that they were unable to control it and consequently were consumed by it. It is not by chance that documentary maker Leni Riefenstahl's record of the 1934 Nuremberg Rally was entitled Triumph of the Will, for the focusing of willpower is the core element and key to successful magic. Hitler was not a magician, nor was he the Messiah the German mystics had prophesied. He was a true Untermensch, to use the Nazi term, the type of low, undeveloped personality, which allows itself to be driven by its instincts rather than intuition. The embodiment of the element force, psychoanalysts call the ego, in which occultists term the lower self. In Jewish mysticism, Satan simply means temper, and is symbolic of our shadow self, the dark side of the psyche, while the concept of the demon came from a corruption of daemon, the Greek word for the human soul. That is messed up. What? Wow. I didn't know that. The devils and demons of medieval magic are the creation of the early church. They do not appear in the Old Testament. There were conceived to put the fear of God into potential sinners and give the church the means to enrich itself by selling absolution from the fires of purgatory. Later they served to keep society on the straight and narrow until a body of civil laws could be formulated. Today they serve no purpose other than as symbols of our fears and addictions. No one of sane mind has claimed to have seen a demon or the devil since the Dark Ages. Okay. Hitler never spoke of having heard demonic voices urging him to offer a blood sacrifice to his infernal master. I have to tell you, I know I did see the demon. Fallen angel. Lucifer. Basically the devil. Crazy. I think we're all a little crazy, aren't we? Nazis consciously chose to awaken the demonic side of their people's psyche for their own selfish ends. It's not fate or destiny which put Germany on the path to self-destruction, the willingness of their leadership and willingness of the people to submit to the greater will. So Hitler never spoke of having heard demonic voices urging him to offer a blood sacrifice to his infernal master. So other nations suffered from high unemployment and escalating inflation during the 1930s, and no doubt a proportion of their citizens were anti-Semites. But only Germany set out to make itself master of the world and rid itself of Jews, the Jewish problem. For 12 terrible years they ruled through fear, distrust, deception, and brutality. The Nazi state was George Orwell's nightmare scenario made manifest, a boot stamping on a human face forever. Esoteric doctrine states that every individual has the opportunity to make their own heaven and hell on earth during their allotted lifetime. Hitler chose the latter, and in doing so proved to the world that evil is entirely man-made and those who succumb to it are doomed to failure. Unfortunately, there are still those in the world today who have not learned the lessons of history. Until they do, the shadow of the swastika will continue to darken this world. This institution supports the Fuhrer unconditionally, and that was from Banner on Wittenau Lunatic Asylum in 1938. Wow. So we're basically done with the book. Thank God. But we have a timeline here. Timeline 1889. April 20th, 1889. Adolf Hitler was born in Linz, Austria. First World War ends. Germany defeated on November 11th, 1918. June 28th, 1919. Signing of the Versailles Treaty. July 29, 1921. Adolf Hitler elected leader of National Socialist German Workers' Party. November 9th, 1923. The Munich Beer Hall, which fell as Hitler imprisoned. July 18, 1925. Mein Kampf, published. October 29th, 1929. Wall Street stock market crash ushers in the Great Depression. Results in widespread inflation and high unemployment in America and Europe. September 14th, 1930. Nazi's second largest political party in Germany. January 30th, 1933. Adolf Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany. March 23rd, 1933. As a result of the Reichstag fire of 27 February, Hitler invokes emergency powers. April 1st, 1933, Nazis encourage boycott of Jewish businesses. May 10th, 1933, ritual book burning in German cities. July 14th, 1933, Nazis outlaw opposition parties. June 30th, 1934, the Night of the Long Knives. July 25th, 1934, Nazis murder Austrian Chancellor Dollfuss. Alright. I've been going back and forth, but these are two separate lines. So, August 19th, 1934, Adolf Hitler is confirmed as Führer. March 7th, 1936, German troops occupy Rhineland unopposed. August 1st, 1936, Olympic Games open in Berlin. Germany's Anschluss union with Austria. March 12th, 1938. October 15th, 1938, German troops occupy the Sudetenland. November 9th, 1938, Kristallnacht, the Night of the Broken Glass.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So throughout Germany, Nazi thugs and their supporters smashed the windows of Jewish businesses and set synagogues on fire. So November 11th, 1918, the World War ends, and Germany is defeated. July 29th, 1921, Adolf Hitler elected leader of National Socialist German Workers' Party. July 18th, 1925, Mein Kampf is published. September 14th, 1930, Nazi's second largest political party in Germany. March 23, 1933, as a result of Reichstag fire of 27th of February, Hitler invokes emergency powers. May 10th, 1933, ritual book burning in German cities. The Night of the Long Knives was June 30th, 1934. August 2nd, 1934, death of German President von Hindenburg. September 15th, 1935, Nuremberg race laws deny Jews equal rights. July 18th, 1936, Civil War in Spain. Fascists under Franco received military aid from Germany. June 11th, 1937, Soviet army severely weakened and demoralized after Stalin instigates purge of senior Red Army officers. September 30th, 1938, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain signs Munich Agreement, guaranteeing Britain and her allies will not intervene if Hitler reclaims the Sudetenland. Chamberlain claims he has secured peace in our time by appeasing Hitler and preventing a European war. Yeah, so I was supposed to go back and forth. That's what I thought. See? I was doing it right in the first place. Anyways, back on track. 1939. March 15th through 16th, 1939, Nazis take Czechoslovakia. March 28th, 1939, Spanish Civil War end, Franco's fascists take power. May 22nd, 1939, Nazis sign Pact of Steel with Italy. August 23rd, 1939, Nazis and Soviets sign Non-Aggression Pact, leaving Germany free to attack the West without fear of the Second Front being opened up to the east. August 25th, 1939, in response, Britain and Poland signed a mutual assistance treaty. September 1st, 1939, Nazis invade Poland. September 3rd, 1939, Britain, France, Australia, and New Zealand declare war on Germany. Good to go, guys. September 17th, 1939, Soviet army invades Poland. 10 days later, Poland surrenders. September 29th, 1939, Nazis and Soviets divide up Poland. October 1939, Nazis instigate euthanasia policy. The sick and disabled were exterminated. Did you know they're doing that in Canada these days, but you have to sign off on it? But if they say you're able to do that for yourself, then other people do. It's pretty scary. Pretty scary indeed. November 30th, 1939, Soviet army invades Finland. On 12 March, Finland signs a peace treaty. April 9th, 1940, Nazis invade Denmark and Norway. May 10th, 1940, Blitzkrieg, Nazis invade France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Winston Churchill appointed British Prime Minister. May 15th, 1940, Holland surrenders Belgium capitulates on May 28th. May 26th, 1940, evacuation of Allied troops from Dunkirk ends June 3rd. June 10th, 1940, Norway surrenders. Italy declares war on Britain and France. June 14th, 1940, German troops enter Paris. June 16, 1940, Marshal Pétain becomes French Prime Minister. June 18th, 1940, Hitler and Mussolini form alliance. The Soviets occupy the Baltic states. June 22nd, 1940, Hitler humiliates France by forcing its leaders to sign an armistice in the same railway carriage in which Germany signed the surrender in 1918. June 28th, 1940, Hitler and Mussolini form alliance. Soviets occupy the Baltic states. June 22nd, 1940, Hitler humiliates France by forcing its leaders to sign an armistice in the same railway carriage in which Germany signed the surrender in 1918. June 28, 1940, Britain recognizes the exiled General Charles de Gaulle as leader of the Free French and France government collaborates with Nazis. July 1st, 1940, German U-boat campaign begins in the Atlantic, harassing merchant convoys, bringing vital supplies to the British Isles. July 10th, 1940, Battle of Britain begins. Throughout August, German bombers target British airfields and factories. The British respond by bombing Berlin, the first long-range raid of the war. September 13, 1940, Italians invade Egypt. September 15th, 1940, German air raids extend to Southampton, Bristol, Cardiff, Liverpool, and Manchester. September 26, 1940, Axis formed when Germany, Italy, and Japan signed the Tripartite Pact. October 7, 1940, German troops invade Romania. October 12, 1940, Germans postpone Operation Sea Lion. October 28, 1940, Italian armies invade Greece. November 20th, 1940, Hungary joins the Axis, followed 3 days later by Romania. December 9th through 10th, 1940, British North African campaign begins against the Italians. Alright, we're gonna, well, it says 1940, but there's nothing under it, so we're gonna hop on over to 1941. January 22nd, 1941, British and Australians take strategically vital North African port of Tobruk.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Which will change hands several times after Rommel's Afrika Korps enter the Desert Theater on 12 February. March 27th, 1941, a coup in Yugoslavia overthrows the pro-Axis government. April 6, 1941, Nazis invade Greece and Yugoslavia. The latter surrenders on 17 April. Greece surrenders 10 days later. May 10th, 1941, Deputy Fuhrer Rudolf Hess flies to Scotland and is arrested. May 27, 1941, Nazi flagship, the Bismarck, sunk by the British Navy. June 1941, Nazi SS Einsatzgruppen begin program of mass murder in Latvia. June 22, 1941, German invasion of Soviet Union, codenamed Operation Barbarossa. July 3, 1941, Stalin orders a scorched earth policy in the face of the advancing Germans. July 12, 1941, British and Soviets sign mutual assistance agreement. July 31, 1941, Göring instructs Heydrich to instigate final solution, mass extermination of the Jews in Germany. September 1st, 1941, Nazis order Jews to wear yellow stars. September 3rd, 1941, first experimental use of gas chambers at Auschwitz. Operation Typhoon begins. German advance on Moscow. Withdrawal begins 5 December, 4 days later. The Soviet army launches a major counter-offensive around Moscow. German retreat begins. December 7th, 1941, Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor. December 19, 1941, Hitler takes complete command of the German army. January 20th, 1942, SS leader Heydrich holds the Wannsee Conference to coordinate the final solution. May 30th, 1942, goes 1,000-bomber British air raid against Cologne. June 1942, mass murder of Jews begins at Auschwitz. June 4th, 1942, Heydrich dies after assassination attempt in Prague. Nazis liquidate Politis in reprisal. June 11th, 1942, Himmler orders the destruction of Jewish ghettos in Poland. July 1st through the 30th, 1942, First Battle of El Alamein. September 1942, Battle of Stalingrad begins. January 14th through 24th, 1943. At Casablanca, Churchill and Roosevelt demand the unconditional surrender of Germany. January 27, 1943, first American bombing raid on Germany. February 2, 1943, encircled Germans surrender at Stalingrad. February 18, 1943, Nazis arrest White Rose resistance leaders in Munich. April 19, 1943, Waffen-SS launch assault on Jewish resistance group in Warsaw Ghetto. Resistance holds out until 16 May. May 13, 1943, German and Italian troops surrender in North Africa. July 9th through 10th, 1943, Allies land in Sicily. July 25th through 26th, Mussolini arrested and replaced by Marshal Broglio. He is rescued 6 weeks later by the Germans. October 1st, 1943, Allies enter Nepal, Italy. Jumping over to 1944, January 2nd, 1944, Allies land at Anzio. January 27th, 1944, the siege of Leningrad is lifted after 900 days. It's a freaking long time. February 15th through 18th, 1944, Allies bomb the monastery of Monte Cassino. March 4th, 1944, first major daylight bombing raid on Berlin by the Allies. June 5th, 1944, Allies enter Rome. June 6, 1944, D-Day landings. June 13th, 1944, first German V-1 rocket attack on Britain. June 22nd, 1944, the Soviet summer offensive begins the rout of German invaders. July 3rd, 1944, Battle of the Hedgerows. In Normandy, a week later, Caen is liberated. July 20th, 1944, Hitler survives an assassination attempt at the Wolfslayer headquarters. July 24th, 1944, Soviet troops liberate first concentration camp at Hamashta. August 25th, 1944, Paris liberated. September 13th, 1944, U.S. troops reach Siegfried Line. September 17th, 1944, Operation Market Garden begins. Allied airborne assault on Holland. October 2nd, 1944, Polish army forced to surrender to the Germans in Warsaw after weeks of heroic resistance. October 14th, 1944, Allies liberate Athens. Roland commits suicide on Hitler's orders for his part in the July plot. December 16th through 27th, 1944, Battle of the Bulge in the Rockies, retreating Waffen-SS winner 81 US POWs at Malmedy. December 26, 1944, the battling bastards of Bastogne. Relieved by General Patton, the Germans withdraw from the Ardennes during January. Hitler's last gamble has failed. January 26, 1945. Soviet troops liberate Auschwitz. February 4 through 11, 1945. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin meet at Yalta and plan the partition of post-war Germany. February 13 through 14, 1945. Dresden is destroyed by a firestorm after Allied bombing raids. April 1945. Allies recover stolen Nazi art hidden in salt mines. Hey, I wonder if that kind of preserved them. April 1st, 1945. U.S. troops encircle remnants of Germany and German army in the rear. They surrender on 18 April. April 12, 1945. Allies uncover the horrors of the final solution at Buchenwald and Belsen concentration camps. President Roosevelt dies. Truman becomes president. April 21st, 1945. Soviets enter Berlin. April 28th, 1945. Mussolini is hanged by Italian partisans. April 29th, 1945. U.S. 7th Army liberates Dachau. April 30th, 1945. Adolf Hitler commits suicide at the Berlin bunker, followed by the suicide of the Goebbels. The corpses are burnt. Of course they will. Let's get rid of the evidence. I so don't think he did it there. I think he and other Nazis escaped to like Argentina and stuff. There's so much evidence over there. You can't deny it. May 7th, 1945, the unconditional surrender of the German forces is signed. May 8th, 1945, VE Victory in Europe Day. May 9th, 1945, Hermann Göring surrenders to U.S. 7th Army. May 23rd, 1945, SS Reichsfuhrer Himmler commits suicide. June 5th, 1945, Allies partition Germany and divide Berlin into sections. The Cold War begins. November 20th, 1945, Nuremberg war crimes trials begin. Göring will commit suicide almost a year later, 2 hours before his scheduled execution. Well, it's bad out right there, because you think that'd be worse than outed, like executed? You'd rather do it yourself? I don't know about that. There's just so many questions of what happens when you do that. I don't know. I have no clue. I've known people who have, and I don't know if it's due to my experience with them or knowledge of scriptures that I've read, but I know I've read somewhere that there is a place in heaven for tortured souls, because man, life is hard here, and no, it's hard, but it's a gift, and it's a gift that a lot of people don't get. So we really gotta take advantage of that, for sure. I know I'm planning a lot of different things for this summer, so I'm really looking forward to it. Doing some hiking, camping. I don't know, I didn't get to do any of that last summer. The summer before we hit the lake a lot, but that's about it. Gotta do something this summer. So on the inside of this book, as far as the cover, it says, what evidence is there that as a youth Hitler fell under the spell of black magicians who initiated him into the secrets of esoteric knowledge and were using him as a medium for evil agencies? Mark 1. Is it true that Hitler was not only obsessed with black magic, but had entered into a pact with the forces of darkness, which gave him charismatic powers over the German people and guaranteed the German army would be invincible? until the Allies invoked supernatural forces of their own. Did Hitler initiate the Second World War to honor his pact with satanic forces and fulfill his role as the Dark Messiah, as prophesied by Nostradamus and other seers? For the first time, the secret history of the Third Reich reveals the full extent of Hitler's involvement with the occult and the Nazis' fascination with symbols of arcane power such as the Holy Grail and the Spear of Destiny. So we've gone through the contents as far as the chapters. Paul Roland is the author of more than 25 books, including Crime Scenes, Investigating the Unexplained, The Crimes of Jack the Ripper, and In the Minds of Murderers. He has been a freelance feature writer and reviewer for many national publications for more than 25 years, as well as a regular contributor to Mail on Sunday, Rang, which CD and how to film. Well, that's it for tonight, boys and girls. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. It was epic. Can't wait to do it again next week. Don't forget, you guys, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, have a wonderful beginning of your week. Don't work too hard, don't take life too seriously, enjoy as much as you can. I will see you back here, same time, same crazy place. Once again, nighty-night, love and light.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.